In this video, we will cover first-degree or perfect price discrimination. By price discrimination, we mean charging different consumers different prices for the same product, even though there are no cost differences for the firm. Firms pursue pricing strategies where different consumers or different groups of consumers are charged different prices in order to earn a higher profit than would be earned by simply charging every consumer the same price. If a hotel charges travelers with a pet more than those without a pet, this would likely not be an example of price discrimination, because the cost to providing a hotel room for someone with a pet is likely more on average than providing hotel rooms to travelers without a pet. Under perfect or first-degree price discrimination, the firm charges each consumer her reservation price. The reservation price is the maximum price that a consumer is willing to pay. An example of first-degree or perfect price discrimination may be a college that advertises a high sticker price, but then provides price discounts to some students using needs-based scholarships. When a student applies for a need-based scholarship, she must provide information about her family income and educational background. This information gives the university information about her willingness and ability to pay. Any needs-based scholarship that is offered is really just a discount on the price. So here, the university is charging different consumers different prices based on their willingness to pay. Another example of perfect price discrimination may be a car salesperson that is willing to go down in price for customers that have a lower willingness to pay, but is not willing to go down in price for those with a higher willingness to pay. When you go into a car dealership and the salesperson starts asking you where you live, where you work, and so forth, do you really think that the salesperson is that interested in you as a person? No. Through the process of getting to know you and haggling over price, the salesperson is trying to get a sense of the most you are willing to pay. The car salesperson has a goal to charge each person his maximum willingness to pay or reservation price. To be able to engage in price discrimination, there are three conditions that must be met. First, the firm must have market power. If the firm does not have market power, it is a price taker. It must charge no more than the going market price for each unit to be able to sell anything. If the firm has market power, it can raise its price without losing all of its customers. In many cases, market power gives producers the opportunity to pursue different pricing strategies to capture more consumer surplus and earn higher profits than it would if it simply charged every consumer the same price. Second, a firm must be able to identify different groups of consumers or individual consumers that have different demand curves, and must be able to identify how the demand curves differ. Finally, the firm must be able to prevent resale. If the firm cannot prevent resale, then those that are able to get the product for a low price will pursue profit by selling to those with a higher willingness to pay in a secondary market. Such arbitrage will bring about a single prevailing price in the market. The demand curve shows consumers' willingness and ability to pay. Let's suppose that this is the demand for a new Toyota RAV4. Here the demand curve shows that there is a consumer that is willing to pay $23,000 for the RAV4. If the firm is practicing perfect price discrimination, the salesperson will charge the consumer $23,000 for the car. The marginal revenue or additional revenue from selling this car will be the price, $23,000. The consumer surplus will be zero. Consumer surplus is the difference between what the consumer is willing to pay and what she actually pays. Suppose that the next consumer is willing to pay $21,000. Since the perfect price discriminating firm charges each consumer her willingness to pay, the price will be $21,000. The marginal revenue or additional revenue for the firm will be $21,000. Since the consumer paid the most she was willing to pay, she is left with no consumer surplus. For a firm practicing perfect price discrimination, what is the relationship between price and marginal revenue? When a firm is practicing perfect price discrimination, price equals marginal revenue. This implies that the marginal revenue curve for the perfect price discriminating firm is equal to the demand curve. Recall that for a single price monopolist, where every consumer is charged the same price, the marginal revenue curve has the same intercept as the inverse demand curve, but is twice as steep. This demand curve is marked as marginal revenue S. If the firm is charging the same price to each consumer, how much will it produce? The firm will produce where its marginal revenue equals its marginal cost. For the single price monopolist, the marginal revenue is marginal revenue S. So the firm charging each consumer the same price would produce 3.5 units. The graph shows that at this output, the price charged would be $18. How much will the perfect price discriminating firm produce? The perfect price discriminating firm also maximizes profit by producing where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. However, for the perfect price discriminating firm, the marginal revenue curve is the same thing as demand. So here, the perfect price discriminating firm will produce 6 units. Each consumer is charged a different price. For the marginal consumer or last consumer, the price will be $10,000, which is the same as the competitive price where price equals marginal cost. Now let's compare the economic welfare under perfect competition, single price monopoly, and perfect price discrimination. Under perfect competition, consumer surplus is the area below the demand curve and above the market price of $10. So consumer surplus will be area A plus B plus C. Under single price monopoly, consumer surplus is the area below the demand curve and above the single price monopolist price, which is $18. So consumer surplus is the area A. Under perfect price discrimination, each consumer is charged a reservation price, so each consumer has 0 consumer surplus. Under perfect competition, producer surplus is the area below the competitive price of $10 and above the marginal cost curve. So producer surplus is area D plus E. For the single price monopolist, producer surplus is the area below the price of $18 and above the marginal cost curve, which is area B plus D. For perfect price discrimination, the firm captures all of the potential surplus. It's the area below the demand curve and above the marginal cost curve. And so producer surplus under perfect price discrimination will be area A plus B plus C plus D plus E. Under perfect competition, economic welfare is the sum of consumer surplus and producer surplus, area A plus B plus C plus D plus E. For the single price monopolist, we also find the total economic surplus by adding up consumer surplus and producer surplus. So it is area A plus B plus D. Under perfect price discrimination, since the producer captured all of the potential economic surplus, the total economic welfare or surplus is A plus B plus C plus D plus E. So under perfect competition, since the economic welfare that is realized is the total potential economic welfare, there is no deadweight loss. Under single price monopoly, C plus E is not realized as part of the economic welfare, so it is deadweight loss. In perfect price discrimination, since the firm is able to capture all of the economic welfare, there's also no deadweight loss. So perfect price discrimination is actually efficient. The fact that with perfect price discrimination, the deadweight loss is 0 implies that the outcome when firms practice perfect price discrimination is efficient, like in the competitive market. This result may be surprising since consumers have no consumer surplus. However, notice that in both perfect competition and perfect price discrimination, the output is 6. The overall economic welfare is the same too. The key difference is how the economic welfare is distributed between consumers and producers. With perfect price discrimination, the producer is able to capture all of the economic welfare.